All right. Welcome to the June 2022 Idea Share. My name is Beth Golick from Key Ministry, and I just really look forward to this time each month where we can just meet with each other and support each other, encourage each other, ask questions. So let's get started. How's everybody doing? Thumbs up, thumbs down, kind of in between. Oh, good. A lot
Gotta share. I gotta
yes,
share.
please.
Really
All
cool
right,
things. Okay. Before I jump out of my chair.
Okay.
So two major things. You think summer is going to be a little slower, but two major things happened this month that we have just been so incredibly blessed by. And one of those was, and we didn't even know it until a week before that they were doing this, but they highlighted the disability ministry in our church. And I can't remember the last time they did that. And we've been there for 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah. So this was a huge deal. So they had the families come and sit in a certain section in the front of the church. I was a little disappointed that it wasn't on the stage, but I figure we'll get there eventually, right? And there were some people that would have been a little bit more challenging for them to be on the stage anyway. So that was probably a wise move. But the families came and the volunteers that worked with them sat also in that little section. And the pastor came over and highlighted the ministry. They played a video. They created a video about the ministry, and it was an excellent video. If anybody wants it, just email us at championsforparents@gmail, and we'll be happy to send it to you because it was fabulous. And then the pastor, who really does love our disability people, came and prayed over the group. But first he had words to say, like, I really love you guys, all of you. And you don't see that very often. And it brought tears to my eyes. So they divided it between 3 services. So there were some families represented at each service. And so that kind of spread the wealth a little bit, and the congregation got to see some really cool things. So that was amazing. It was just amazing. And we're still reeling over the fact that it actually happened. Yeah. So that was really good. And then I'm going to share one more thing and I'm going to let everybody else talk, but you guys just needed to know this stuff. So I'm sad that Al Faria, or however you say his last name, we should have asked him that question. He came to visit us with his son, Joel, and we took him around the disability ministry of our church. And it was such a wonderful experience because not only, did we get to we're like proud peacocks about our ministry anyway. And so we got to share with him the cool things that are going on, and Joel. And at the same time, it was like a reunion for us because we hadn't seen a lot of these people in a while because we've been focused on Adultville. So it has been, it was just so fun to share our life group that we created for the express purpose. Some of you know this already, for the express purpose of bringing people with disabilities and people without overt disabilities together so that we create a family. Instead of separating everybody all over the place, let's come together as a family. So Al and Joel got to experience that, and it was quite the morning. So it was an interesting thing for them to experience, and we loved it. And then we took them to our adult group. We have a high functioning adult group, and they just made us feel so good. We walked in the door and they're like, Tom and Julie and Amy, and they're all excited about us being there. And so that was fun. But, they got to have individual conversations with Al, which was, he's a wonderful man. And it was just a beautiful thing for them to know that somebody cared enough to want to come and visit them. And they loved every minute of that. And then we took them to the sensory room where the people with more challenging things going on need more one-on-one care. And so we have a fabulous sensory room. So Joel loved every piece of the sensory room, and he just experienced all of it. So that was kind of fun to watch him enjoy that. He's a college student. So he really had a good time there. And then just, watching our people interact with Al and loving him and telling him everything that, and he has lots of questions. So he had good, it was good conversations. So there was everything about it was just God. It was just God. And it was pretty fun to do that. So if anybody wants to come to Thomas Road Baptist Church and visit the disability ministry, we would be happy to host you.
That sounds awesome. Yeah. Oh, I love this. I love this on like for so many reasons. But I love, and Al is great. A lot of you know Al, and he is like the ultimate networker, and he is
Yeah.
constantly traveling and visiting. And, you know, he was here in Cleveland, and I know he got to go to First Christian Church in Canton when he was here. When he was here for IFL a few years ago, he was able to come to my church. I love that. I love how welcoming you and your people were for him, and just all the connections that happened. That's amazing. So, and this, you know, that's a really good reminder though, Julie, that yes, we see each other, you know, on the screen, but I'm sure all of us would welcome any of us to come visit if we're in the area, to visit each other's churches. What a great opportunity for him, and for you. That's so cool. Thank you. So Ryan was asking in the chat what your email address is. So I think it's champions4parents@gmail.com. Is that correct?
Got it.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yep. And if anybody wants to type that in too, I'm not good at typing.
We can do that.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you, Meekins. Those are like super reports. The way the recognition of the disability ministry community at on Sunday morning, that sounds so cool. I love how the pastor addressed the congregation, but addressed you know, the people too. I love that. So thank you for encouraging us with that information today. Great. All right, who else has something to share? Anybody else jumping out of their seat like Julie was? Barb has her hand raised.
I don't have anything to share, but I have a question. So has anyone at your church done like a community partnership as far as your volunteers for disability ministry? We at our church, we have a lot of families at our church who have students with disabilities, and I'm going to start expanding up into the older ages and adults. Also, we have kind of a relationship with a school in our town that is for people with autism and other developmental disabilities who cannot do inclusion. They do better when they're in their own school. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of students whose needs are very high. And so we've gotten to the point where right now, all of our ministry partners, our volunteers are part of our church. They're just regular church folks, but we're getting to the point, especially with adults, where we really need more professionals to help for safety reasons. Mm-hmm. So we had talked about doing a community partnership where we invite some professionals in to be helpers along with our church members who are teaching the curriculum. Has anyone done anything like that before, and what would you suggest?
I know there's a church in our area who has contacted the local university, and, you know, either special ed majors or recreational therapy majors. And they had they actually paid someone to come on Sundays and help them, but they used the local university as their resource. Now, I don't know, you know, with that, you're not necessarily getting Christians, but that is the route that they chose. And I was like, but we're here. I'm with Johnny and friends. So I was like, we can help you, but they did have some pretty significant needs, and that worked well for them for a season.
Did you know, I mean, is there anyone I could talk to? So my question really is, we actually have a lot of professionals in our church. A lot of them don't serve in our ministry because they do it all week long. But one of them had suggested they may have some coworkers that would like to come in and volunteer. And what I'm trying to figure out is kind of like parameters so that they may not be Christians, but we're all on the same page. And so I was wondering if there's any other churches who have done this before that I might be able to talk to, or kind of pick their brain on how they did it, so that we're all understanding what we're teaching and we're all on the same page, if that makes sense.
Right. Sylvia.
Yeah. I partnered, which never kind of materialized because we never got the participation base, but I had written a contract with the occupational therapy department at Howard University. Actually, I connected with the director of the OT services or physical disability services, and Towson University. So we had a contract where we were going to have students it was going to be like an internship for them, where they could get some of their hours through supporting our, we call it our Journey with Jules. It was a baby program, but we never had enough parents to participate. And then, of course, COVID happened and all that kind of stuff, so we could not move forward with it. But they were very willing to develop a program to support the ministry. And no, they do not have to belong to our church. But it was also establishing safety measures of fingerprinting and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we did try.
Sylvia, would you be willing that maybe I could take a look at some of that? Would that be possible, or someone I could talk to? That would be awesome. I'm just trying to figure out some parameters. I had talked to my pastor about it last year for next year, but we just had, there's this outpouring of people in our community that want to come to church, and most of the churches won't take them. And so we kind of need to ramp that up sooner. So I would appreciate that if possible.
And so it's this fine line between having volunteers who are extremely committed as Christians to, helping kids grow in their faith journey, but maybe have no experience in classroom management, some of these behavior things, and then having professionals who are really good at the behavior management, but maybe aren't Christians. And
so we're kind of where we are, and what our pastor said was we would always have to have a church member that would be teaching the curriculum and be in charge of that point. But what we're finding is as our kids are getting older and as the community wants to come in, I mean, now we have the students who they're bigger than we are.
Right.
And they have intensive needs. And so I just know from growing up with a brother with intensive autism, with aggression, there's a difference between having a heart to serve and understanding. And when you're talking about men-sized people, you have to have the safety component.
Right.
So we have plenty of opportunities for our volunteers. I just feel like as you're learning the safety things, it's safer when the kids are small.
Yeah.
But when they're like 200 pounds, you need a professional. So that's kind of where we're getting. So I'm trying to get ahead of that before we have an incident.
Yeah, but I do like your idea that you're always paired with somebody who is, teaching the word. And what a great evangelism opportunity.
Well, that's what I think we had a really good conversation about it. So I think he'll be on board with moving it up, but I'm just trying to get together. That was the other idea, was it's also an outreach to the people who are not Christians, but have a heart. They're getting them in the church. They may go to service the other service, so it's a win-win, but I'm just trying to figure out how to structure it so we're all on the same page and everyone knows their role and the expectations. So anyone that's gone before, and Sylvia, if you don't mind to share some of that, I would love to see it.
And that, also brings up a good point. So I'm sure most of you, and I hope most of you, do have like a background check procedure for your volunteers, which clearly these people are going to be, they're going to pass with flying colors because they're employed and, in the field. Do any of your churches have any kind of, it's not a background check, but like ours is called Ministry in the Light. So that means they've gone through, we also background check them, fingerprint them, the whole thing. But Ministry in the Light is our protection policy. So it does go through like what our safety rules are, takes 3 to pee, that kind of thing. Never one child and one adult alone in a bathroom, that kind of thing. But it also does kind of ask them where they are in their faith journey. There's not a right or wrong answer for that, but I'm just curious if that's something that's included, for those of you who recruit volunteers. Is that part of what you do?
We do. That's exactly what we do. The only difference with this is there are additional expectations right now because these are people who are professing to be Christ followers and part of the church. Whereas when we're looking at the community, they're not there yet, a lot
Right.
of them.
Right.
But yeah, we do all of that.
How do you, I'm just curious, for those of you who do have that component as part of your volunteer onboarding, do you know what the categories are? Like, do you have to profess that Jesus Christ is your savior, or is it I'm working towards that, or like how do you, yeah, let's see, Suzanne. Yes, you do have that. Okay. Anybody else? Diana, you want to share?
Yeah, we use a program called Ministry Safe. And so every volunteer, it's more stringent if you're working with children in special needs than if you are a greeter at the door. And each person that comes in is asked those questions. And then like for our area, we have two categories. One is supervised and one is unsupervised. So if it is someone we use the unsupervised very loosely, like that's more stringent. So if you are in any kind of leadership role, then those questions, and then yes, we do specifically want them and do even a one-on-one interview questions as well as that stuff they fill out. But if you are, let's say an example might be, someone who's 17 years old and they're always going to be supervised. And so if the 17-year-old is like kind of struggling with their faith, or even you get that in the interview, we don't disallow them. It's just a matter of what they're doing. And even kind of the same thing when we do get to adults, but we do have, and I don't even know exactly where it is written, but I think they were working on it because we had issues where we have, if people are not following our Christian beliefs, let's say it's two women that are married and they want to lead in the nursery. It's at a level much higher than mine, but they are allowed to be at our church and participate, and we offer classes. But because our church strongly does, obviously it's not biblical, so they're not allowed to serve, and they are talked to by our executive team. So it's a little bit, yes.
Okay, so I guess that's something to consider. Are you going to hold kind of these outsiders, professionals to the same standard that you will your, church volunteers? So that's just something to think about.
That is the question. And for us, I don't think you do, but I think I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, like with the leadership, the church leadership, with the community volunteers, and kind of find how do you handle that well?
Because I think it is a bigger question than just like, oh, we need these couple people helping out in the classroom. Are you going to be able to pay those people or not necessarily?
No.
Okay.
At this point now, we're looking at probably just a volunteer opportunity. If we had to pay someone, we would have to get a grant to do that. I mean, we're not a large church.
Mhm.
We're a medium-sized church. We're probably one of the smaller churches in this whole network. Because it seems like a lot of people have very big churches. So we don't always have that same kind of budget that other people do. So this will just be volunteer. And I just want to make sure if we do it, that we do it well and it works for everybody. But part of that I do think is there is a growth aspect for that person coming in. If they're not where you want them to be or where, we hope they will grow to,
Mhm.
it's a good opportunity to bring them in.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm trying to figure out is where are the boundaries? I guess really that's the kind of question. Where are the boundaries and how do you structure that so everyone is an understanding of where everyone is?
Mhm.
It is a big question because
is.
life is complicated.
Yeah,
But
but I totally
need
see, the need for it.
Yeah.
I mean, your ministry is growing, which is phenomenal,
Mhm.
but I totally get what you're dealing with. So
Yeah. I just want everyone to be safe because I feel like there's a learning curve when you're dealing with people with disabilities, especially autism, and you don't want to accidentally set a person off that's 180 pounds. You just don't. So you really need to have some people that have that background, and you don't always have that pool of people in a smaller church. So that's kind of what we're looking at.
yeah, well, keep us posted. Does anybody else have any suggestions or ideas for Barb? All right, well, keep us posted. All right, who else has a question or something to share or something you're struggling with? Anyone? It's gonna be a short one, guys. Allison.
Yeah, just to get some more ideas from everybody. This is the best thing for, hey, I've got this little idea, can you guys make it bigger? So I'm trying to piggyback off you, Beth, when we had your inclusive service for sensory friendly service at the IFL. So for those of you that weren't there, it was an invitation to everybody from your ministry, and everybody had a bag of goodies and some fidgets and some visual aids. And I'm trying to sort of extend it a little bit in that, typically speaking, we don't have the children in our service. This summer, we're trying to have 3rd and 4th grade in our services from July and August, and our kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in August. So I was like, well, if we just throw them in, that's not going to work. Kids are going to be upset, parents are going to be upset. So I remembered back to your bags, and I wanted to do something similar, but based it in my mind, I'm thinking anything that you can do for special needs kids is great practice and works for everybody.
Yeah.
And that then means that the kids with special needs will also be included. So it's in creating that, the biggest inclusive atmosphere possible. So, and then we'll also do sort of dry runs with these bags in the kids' classes before they go into the service, so they know what they're looking for, they know how they're using it, so that when the parents go into a bit of a panic, the kids are like, we got this. But I was just thinking, if you guys had ideas of, because we're trying to be environmentally friendly as well, we're trying not to use copious amounts of paper throughout the summer and everything getting thrown away, but we were wondering whether to do almost like a sort of prayer request journal that the children can write in each week. And we're thinking maybe for 3rd and 4th graders, some sort of key questions to pull them in, maybe write down the Bible verse that's being taught that day, some key points from the teaching, and then they can look back at the prayer requests and pray those as well going forward. And then we were trying to be, this may be a little too creative for us, but some sort of connection if the parents take a photograph of that and then share it with the Facebook groups, and some sort of interaction, but it's a little tenuous at the moment. But I wondered, so that's why I reached out to you, Beth, because I loved your visual aid.
It is sounding familiar now. Thank you.
The board maker, is it?
Yeah.
But I just wondered if any of you have got sort of simple ideas for either order of visual timetables for order of service. I loved at IFL, there was somebody sitting behind me with a child on the autism spectrum, but verbal, and was going through the flip ring that you had, but I can't remember what was on there, but they were loving it and they were going through different things. So I was wondering if you wanted to share that as well.
And actually that's funny because I'm in one of my classrooms right now, so I could actually grab some visual aids to show you. But before I do that, I have seen other churches, and actually for a while, I think it was during COVID, like when there were no church services in the building, like those first few weeks, I think we did something online that people could print out at home. But there are activity sheets, like service activity sheets, and there are places that sell them, you could design your own. But some of the things on them, maybe we could help you brainstorm. You could ask, you could have them write down a song that they heard, or how does that song, make me feel? They could write in the name, for those that can write, they could write in the name of, whoever is preaching. They can write down like a word that they didn't understand. So while I go grab these materials, talk amongst yourself, what are some other things that could be included in like a service activity sheet that could be kind of the same thing each week, so you don't have to, make a whole new thing. But what are some generic questions, and go.
Allison, one of the things that I did for our children grew up in a church where post kindergarten, they had to sit with us in church. So we got really creative because we have 4 children and they're all like 2 years or something apart. And so we had to get creative to keep everybody not disturbing everybody around them, which got a little stressful from time to time. But one of the things that I learned to do is make word searches. And they're really pretty easy to make, and they could be the same, the same one each week, or you can make a couple of different ones. But if you could find out what the sermon series was about, and, the kids could find then some words that they could find that might keep them occupied. That's just a very brief, short idea, but we always had crayons and coloring books and notebooks and anything else we could possibly think of to keep our kids occupied.
Yeah, my mum was really good at doing the stick figures for the teaching. I literally remember sermons by stick figures. who was who and who was what on the back of the service sheet.
Love it.
We were thinking of maybe doing mini whiteboards with eraser pens rather than too many crayons and pens, just so that it's reusable and we're not having to constantly replenish each week. But I was thinking if we did do like service sheets, they would be in a booklet already printed out, and they could either pull it out and take it home if they wanted to, or I could keep it in there so that others could see. Because the idea would be that they'd pick up a different bag each week, and there would be a Bible in there and a fidget. I was trying to think maybe monkey noodles or a little quieter fidget. Sometimes some of the fidgets make more noise. That's true. Or they're too distracting. It's like, that looks way more fun than what I'm doing for the adults.
And just to share about in my thinking as I'm sitting here, and I'm a very visual person, so I'm really struggling with visualizing what you just said that you were going to do. However, what came to my mind though was to make sure even the age and size of the individuals, that for inclusivity, so that those who cannot write at least have a picture, so that your order of service would be pictures that maybe they could color in, that yes, so that they could participate in the service but yet not have to use many sensory systems to be able to engage and to remember what happened, and a picture may be more familiar or recognizable to them, as opposed to them having to kids who have visual motor kinds of problems in writing and everything, and making sure that they want to get down everything that's being said, that if some of the information is already there for them, that they just have to either put a check mark beside it that, oh yeah, I heard that, kind of thing.
Right. And even the students that don't have learning differences, like, or maybe kindergartners and are pre-readers, maybe aren't able to follow along with writing things in and all that. So I like the idea of coloring in pictures. So I grabbed a few things. So in our Sunday morning, like in our Sunday school, when our elementary kids get together for large group, and then the students that are in our special needs classrooms join them. This is like a visual schedule of what we do during large group. And even though our content is different each week, our schedule remains the same. And this has been laminated. And so a student can just take a dry erase marker and check this off as they go along. And this is, we made this for one student who has anxiety. And so this worked well for him because before that, every 30 seconds, he was asking, when are we going to be done? When are we going to be done? When are we going to be done? So this has helped immensely. This past Sunday, I was actually out of town, but this past Sunday was our promotion Sunday. And so for our elementary students, like my classrooms, we don't promote, we stay in our classrooms. But for elementary, we had these new kindergartners coming up. And so in large group, they spend a lot of time going over like, what does our large group schedule look like? And to do that, they used the actual visuals on a PowerPoint, the same ones that are in use by my ministry. And our elementary group leader said it was so good. Like, everybody connected with this schedule. So now they're going to be doing it every week. So this is like one of those examples of what works well for some of our students works well for, all kids. So, and then there are a couple of students who in like elementary that are going to benefit from having their own that they can check off as they go along. So, by the way, I don't know if you know, but Key Ministry has a podcast now and comes out on Thursdays. And this is actually going to be the subject of the one that comes out on Thursday. So check that out. Other kind of dry erase visual things that we have. So this is a prayer request sheet. So I have one version for our younger kids and then a version for our teens and adults, just because some of their life experiences are a little bit different than our, the little ones, but this gives them the opportunity to, so I don't know if you can see this, but it just lists different like family members and friends and that kind of thing. And then these are potential things that they might want prayer for. And so regardless of, if a child uses verbal language or not, this allows them to communicate their prayer requests, and then, a volunteer can pray with them. Or we've had some really great times where a student in the class has led the prayer, and it's just been beautiful. So that's that. Let's see. Allison mentioned a flip book. So I grabbed two, and Allison, I don't know if this is what you saw, but I'll show you what we've done. I'm a huge fan of Boardmaker. I'm a little obsessed. So I have it's like a $99 subscription for the year. And then you can just make stuff like this. But so these are books that we use in our classrooms. Oops, stuff together. And the way we use these is, so it has like a little paragraph, and then it has a question. And then these are just on Velcro, and this allows students, like, no matter what their verbal ability might be, this allows students to fully participate, answer the questions. So we'll pass the little icons out around the room, and and if a child had, like, if fine motor skills isn't their thing, you can do a hand over hand kind of thing to help them with that. But we use that kind of book a lot. So we have, some kind of general ones, and then we've done one specific to Bible stories. And then we have just like our big kind of gospel overview one, gospel story overview. So is that kind of maybe what you saw, Allison? Yeah, okay. Those are my show and tell items. But yeah, tune in on Thursday. So Key Ministry, the podcast, you can find it on any, wherever you listen to your podcast. And that's what we're going to be talking about this week. Yes, Diana.
I know I don't think we're meeting in July, so by the time we do meet again, I'll probably have been moved way past this. So I'm going to have Julie's excitement now, because I'm going to be excited that it is going to be good.
Okay.
But next week, we haven't had our, we do a day camp. We have in the past, and I think 2016, 17, 18, and then 2019 was our last one. But in those years, we only focused really on the older kids, because it seems like there is so much more, and we can be so much more inclusive with our younger kids, even at our VBS. And then we've always do something different for the older ones. We just kind of stick with the Tim Tebow Foundation Night to Shine 14 and up in general. But anyways, we will have our 2022, and our theme, we always have kind of a theme, and it's going to be Toy Story. And so far I've gotten a lot of positive feedback. So they come from 9 to 2, and we have different activities. So I like your idea, Julie, because one of the things, like, some of them really want to participate and some of them don't, just from my past experience. And I think we have 18 registered right now. And I make sure that they're fairly high functioning, like everyone has to be able to use the bathroom. We're not changing big diapers and things like that. So I feel kind of bad, but I have personal conversations if someone's interested and try to find an alternative for them. But I was just looking at some activity sheets, and so we're going to do word searches is going to be a big one. And luckily you can go to Amazon, and I bought a big activity book from Toy Story, and so there's all kinds of different ones in there. So that was kind of reaffirming me. I'm like, oh yeah, we were going to do that. So because it's been, a couple of years because of the pandemic, feel like I'm a little bit out of touch, but since I kind of know most of them, and unfortunately I'd planned on doing some outside activities, but here in Texas, this next 2 weeks is an unprecedented heat wave. So even though we have we have a park on our premises and trails, we're probably not gonna be able to do that. So
You need like those misters or whatever, the spray
those
thing.
little spray bottles. Well, we do have water bottles for everybody, and then that'll have their name on it, so they'll reuse it all week. And then they're kind of small, we'll just refill them more often. And some of them it's real hard to get them to even want to drink water.
Mhm.
Anyways, so that is my excitement, is that it's been 2 years, and we can, and most of them, a lot of them do come to our Sunday group, but we've also reached out to the Down Syndrome Association and a few others. And so this might be a way to get some of these young adults into our adult class at church. So
That's
anyways,
great.
I will let you know, but I think it will be exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait till August. Yeah, we're not having this meeting in July because it'll be like 4th of July, but that's so cool. I can't wait to hear. We'll have to figure out how you can like share pictures or something with us, because that's going to be great.
Well, another exciting thing, which at first I wasn't as excited, because I thought our events here are just huge, so like in hundreds of thousands of kids. And so here my little event is under 20 kids, but I was approached by our pastor that's over all of kids ministry and special needs ministry. I just recently started reporting to him, and he's like, I want to get the photographer and videographer, we have a team, but I ended up with the 2 best ones that are going to come in and do a highlight reel that he wants to show to the entire church after this event. So at first I was just kind of like, no, that's too much pressure. But then I have to have faith in God and trust in our people. And so I think it's going to be amazing what they get. So that might be something I could share with y'all once they get that made.
That's fantastic. And you know what, that reminds me of something. As you're doing some of these things, and whether it's just whatever it is, kind of like put into your planning at some point to think about capturing some of it, photos, video. It doesn't have to be like a professional videographer. If you're having an event, and if you're going to take photos, do yourself a favor and have a photo waiver as part of the registration process, so you don't have to go back later and ask for permission. But capturing some of this information will allow you to share those stories later with the congregation, with your staff. I mean, it doesn't matter what size your church is. Sometimes, after an event or after whatever, and you think, oh, wow, I wish I could communicate to people how awesome this was. And then, the opportunity's gone. So do yourself a favor and kind of think of those things ahead of time. Even if you don't have, like Diana, it sounds like they're going to put together something to show to the congregation. That's awesome. That may not be available to all of us, but there are ways you can take that information later and share it. So do yourself a favor and capture it beforehand.
Yeah, we do have it built in, and I always do, because even in 2019, where we didn't have any professionals coming in, everyone just has their phone. And so we wanted to make sure that we could really promote it. So, but yes, I totally agree with that get that waiver. And we have had in the past one family, and they absolutely did not want their child featured in any adult child featured in anything. And so, we just had to be really aware of that and make sure that we didn't. But I've only had that one. That most of them are like, yes, they want to be in the limelight. So
yeah, and sometimes, especially if it's like a fostering situation, they can't do the pictures. But it'll be easier to weed out those 1 or 2 out of your picture stash than to go back to everybody else later and say, hey, can we use your picture? So, yeah. All right, any other? Yes, Laura.
Hi, my
Hi.
first time here. This is awesome. I'm super
Welcome.
yeah. Two things. One is we are branching into adults, and so we've been talking a little bit. Allison, I was just thinking about your sensory friendly question. We started doing sensory friendly Christmas and Easter services this past year. Huge hit at our church, and they'll be continuing at least for the foreseeable future. But one of the things that I was in the pages that we're making for our services is adding a spot that people can draw a picture of what they saw or felt or experienced too. And so not just a note section, but also something that people can draw. One of the questions that I have for, I guess, all of you is we have really started to see an influx of adults with disabilities that are serving in our church, even throughout the week. And so that started a new conversation of when an adult needs assistance in the bathroom. We have the same bathroom policy for kids, but we've never had to put into place a policy for adults. So kind of trying to figure out, I'm actually meeting with our safety team this week. I wrote like a general policy, but does anybody have a policy for assisting adults throughout the week? We're talking in our production team, on our welcome team, on our facilities team, all over our church. There would be different ministry leaders, not just me as our disability director assisting them, but we get a little more specific on gender and on toileting needs. So any policies out there that you guys already have written that would be helpful for us.
That's a great question. Does anybody have any experience with this or have suggestions? Okay, so two things. One, I think we'll make this a roundtable topic. So on the third Wednesday of each month, we do a disability ministry video roundtable with a specific topic. So
Okay.
let's address this topic. Plus, I think this is a great, I know Barb, I know Wonderful Works has some info on this. And this also can bring up the whole like accessible, adult size changing table and all that, which we've talked about before. Have we made it a disability ministry video roundtable? I don't think so. Okay, so we're going to do that. So be on the lookout for that. And then Laura, I suggest you connect with Barb Stanley because she does have some like toileting info. I also really suggest that you talk to Ryan Wolf from Ability Ministry. They have some great information, and he used to be the disability pastor at First Christian Church in Canton, Ohio, which has a huge adult day program. And so he'll have, I think, some experience to share there.
Yeah.
So are we okay with waiting and making this a roundtable topic, or do we, Barb, do you want to share anything? Yeah. Or,
I
just think like this is something I think we're all going to eventually, like our kids grow up. And across the board, I just feel like even for the kids, like this is a conversation we need to be having.
The only thing I was just going to say for today was you start with what is realistic. So what is realistic for people helping adults in the bathroom? If you're saying you have different ministry leaders and they would be in charge of that, is it realistic that they would be comfortable with that? So start with what do you have? And that will help you ask the questions you need to start developing the policies. And then the most important thing is that whatever policy you create, everyone's on board with it. The individuals, the families, the leadership, and that the expectations are clear. Because the worst thing you can do is put together a policy that feels ideal that people are not comfortable actually doing.
Mhm.
That's my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, one of the things, I think the biggest thing for me is just providing dignity for people that are going to be assisted in the bathroom, but also allowing them to speak up and say, these are the people in the ministry that I feel comfortable assisting me. But then also saying to those people, do you feel comfortable and are you able? Because we have different, we have some individuals who are in a wheelchair and they need to be completely lifted out of their wheelchair and assisted totally on the toilet. I was a special ed teacher for years, and so like I have the knowledge of how to do all the things, but I can't be everywhere at once. So, and people are serving during the week, and I'm not here during their ministries when they're rehearsing for weekend services or whatever. So it's explaining how to do it, but then also making sure that everybody involved is treated with dignity and respect, and that they're given the choice to be assisted by people that they feel comfortable with.
Right.
So
Yeah, no, I think this would be a great conversation for us to have. So we'll do potty talk. Be on the lookout for that.
is
So
that,
thank you, Laura, for bringing that up.
yeah, being kind of new to this, does that just come out in an email, or how do I find out about the roundtable?
Yeah, so thank you for asking. So if you go to keyministry.org/events, that's where we list the what we have going on. Also, there is a video roundtable page on our website that you can find. I don't have the next couple months listed. I have a couple of ideas and I'm talking to a couple people. So like hopefully by tomorrow I'll have June's listed. It's always the third Wednesday of the month at noon Eastern time. So go ahead and mark your calendar for that. Just like Idea Share, once you've signed up once, you're going to get the link emailed to you every month, whether you want it or not. And so once you sign up once, you'll be in the know. But it does get published on our website. You can, if you follow us on social media, you'll see it. And it's in the monthly newsletter. So if you're not on the mailing list for that, you can go to keyministry.org and sign up for our monthly newsletter. All right, well, this was a great conversation today, people, as always. So, oh, good. So Barb's sharing, is that your one on toileting? Yeah, okay. So really good link in there. If you don't follow, if you're not part of Wonderful Works, which is Barb Stanley's ministry, really, really good information. So I highly recommend checking that out. All right, so we are off in July. So we'll see you the first Monday in August. Yes, thank you. Wonderfulworks.net to find Barb's resources. Good stuff. So have a great couple months. Hope to see you on the the Disability Ministry Video Roundtable that will be announced soon what it is, but it's the third Wednesday at noon. And thanks, everyone. Appreciate you. All right, see ya.